Imagine you're setting up a whole new network for your campus. You have to set up the firewall, the networks, the switches, the VLANs, everything, including broadcasting the SSIDs. But you're slammed with so many tasks that you have to do to get this network up and running. That's what Meter Command makes possible. I'm going to show you what it feels like to take command of your network. Before jumping into Meter Command, let's talk about why this even matters. When you're managing multiple sites, the biggest pain points are jumping between multiple dashboards, guessing where a network issue might be, and manually configuring different parts of the network. A lot of clicks, a lot of typing, a lot of trying to figure out what you need to do. Meter Command is going to help us really get things configured, dialed in, because we're just typing what we want done, and Meter Command does it. So let's now dive into Meter's dashboard and see what we've got. Right from the top, you've got your navigation down over in the left side, but I have nothing else configured. This is just plugging everything in out of the box, and we have a network running. And we want to now build a network. Traditionally, you would open up a command line console into these devices and start typing away with different commands. Or maybe you'll click into here and start trying to configure your VLANs and set up routing, configure your SSIDs. Everything here is so far default. And what we want to do is get away from using the GUI as much as possible and start talking to our network. We're living in the future. Meter Command takes simple requests to build out your network. On the left side, right here, we will click on Command, and we're already placed into an interface where we can type out what we want to tell Meter Command to do. And in this case, we're going to talk to our network. We want to configure our network. And the first thing that I want to do is maybe set up a few VLANs, right? What are the VLANs that I want to have set up on this network so I can start building it out for my campus? Let's create 3 VLANs, right? So I'll type out what I want to plan is to create 3 VLANs called CamNet for security cameras. I will also assign that with a VLAN ID. I will put create a VLAN for student Wi-Fi, have a VLAN ID for that, and also a faculty network with a VLAN. So on the bottom here where it says talk to your network, we can add filters. I will simply just say create a VLAN named CamNet for CameraNet. And I'm going to say with ID 1205. And we'll hit enter. What Meter Command will do is interpret what you're typing, and it will create a form here. So a form was created. It's going to create this VLAN on this network that I have here on my site. And here's a description that it put for me, VLAN for camera network. It actually already knew that. I didn't even have to type a description for it. It's going to enable it. This is the name of the VLAN, the VLAN ID number, and that's pretty much it. From here, I can just submit that. So I'll click submit. It's going to ask me if I'm sure I want to create this change. I'm going to say execute that. We want that done for us. And there we go. Success. This operation creates a new VLAN on our network, and we can hit done. One of the things I want to make sure is, did it actually create it? I could verify that over here on the left with network. Head over down to VLANs under network wide, and you can see there is a CamNet VLAN with VLAN ID 1205, and it's a layer 2 only VLAN right now. Now, as I'm doing this is my first time using Meter Command, so I didn't have to type in any commands in the CLI to do this. I'm going to head back over. I want to create another VLAN. I'm going to create one for our student Wi-Fi. So create a VLAN named student Wi-Fi with ID, what did I say? ID 205, I'll just say, and I'll just say make the description student Wi-Fi VLAN. And let's see how Meter Command interprets that. It's going to create that same form again. It's going to verify this is what I want, student Wi-Fi VLAN. That's exactly the description that I typed up in my statement with the right VLAN ID, and we will hit submit. So then there you go. There's another VLAN that it's created. The next step that I want to do here for the networks is to set up IP configuration for the VLANs that I just set up. And these IPs will live on the security appliance, where we will also create DHCP scopes and also set up some security policies. And so if we head over to meter command, I haven't done this before, so I'm going to try to figure this out. I will say configure 10. We'll do this for the student Wi-Fi VLAN. So we'll say configure 10.10.205.1/24 as the IP for student VLAN. And so I'm using the @ sign as a filter to select different components of the network. And in this case, I'm using the 205 student Wi-Fi as the filter. And I will hit send. Let's see if it can do what I want. All right, I was pretty surprised that it was able to understand what I wanted just from that prompt. It did want to update the existing VLAN ID 205 named student Wi-Fi. It's creating a DHCP scope, but I think I will just leave that to static. I don't want to configure that right now. And it selected the right gateway IP that I wanted with the right prefix. So I will then click submit and we will execute. And there we go. We can check what this network looks like. If we head over to VLANs on the left side, student Wi-Fi now has an IP configuration of 205.1. And we can do the same for the faculty net and the camera net. I also want to create an IP for the CamNet and also for FacultyNet, and I'll have meter command do that for me. Now that we verified that it does work, we can say configure IP 10.10.5.1/24 to VLAN at VLAN CamNet with no DHCP. There we go. We've got an update to an existing VLAN ID 1205 named CamNet. It's going to be static IP configuration. This is the gateway and it's a /24. So I will hit submit and we want to execute this successfully. So now we've got layer 3 set up across 3 different networks. The next thing we want to do is set up DHCP, right? We want a DHCP scope or a DHCP rule set up for our different networks. And we could utilize, again, meter command to do that. But let's just say create a DHCP rule for VLAN or for, let's say VLAN CamNet with starting least 10.10.5.100 and end least 10.10.5.150. DNS server set to 8.8.8.8, least time of 8 hours. I'm not sure what else I would be missing from that, but maybe the form that it creates can help tell me what other parameters I should set. So in the form, it's creating a DHCP rule for the VLAN CamNet. The DNS servers, it didn't quite pick that up, so I will fill that in 8.8.8.8. It picked up the end address. It knows my gateway address, the least duration, starting address. So I think what we need to set up here is a search domain. So I'll just put packet6.com. Cache size, we'll just say 100, and the max TTL for the cache size will say 60, and hit submit. Are we sure you want to make this change? We'll execute. So it's nice to know that in the form, it can help tell you what else you need to set up. And if we go back to those networks or the VLANs, we can see the CamNet now has a DHCP gateway, right? There's the IP address, the the default gateway configuration with the DHCP information of the IP range and the lease duration, as well as the custom DNS server. All right, now let's create an SSID. We want our students to connect to the Wi-Fi network on our campus, but we want to do this in a way that allows us to automatically do this, right? We're busy. We need to set this up quickly. I will go into Meter Command, and we will try to tell it to create an SSID for us. So I'm going to type out create SSID with W. Actually, maybe I should give it a name. Create SSID, create an SSID named students only with WPA3 enabled. We're going to be forward thinking here with WPA3 and set the pre-shared key to student Wi-Fi and assign to VLAN, and we'll say the student Wi-Fi VLAN. I don't know if this is going to work. We'll try it. Let's see what it says. All right, here's the form that was created to create an SSID on this network. It's using the WPA3 encryption protocol. It's enabled. The passphrase is student-Wi-Fi. The SSID is students only, and that's the VLAN that it is using. What I forgot to do was tell it which radios or which bands to be enabled on. And let's just say 5 and 6 gigahertz only. And I also want to enable it for all APs, and we'll hit submit. Are you sure you want to make this change? We're going to execute. And the protected management frames is not enabled. And so we have to go in here and say from this drop down protected, here's PMF. And we want to set that to required, submit, execute. So with a little bit of help with the forms, there were some requirements there. We could check this out under network, head down to SSIDs. We now have the students only SSID, that's WPA3 only. We can click into that and see a little bit more details, even make a QR code visible. It is tied to the layer 2 VLAN of 205, the student Wi-Fi VLAN. So we have our single SSID. That's the one thing that I wanted to do, is set up Wi-Fi, and then we're on to our next task. Now you might want to configure things manually yourself. That's still 100% doable within the dashboard. If we go over to the left-hand side, let's say I want to configure the switch port to be only allowing specific VLANs on the trunk. So for example, I have an AP that's right here on port 1. It's currently a trunk. If we click on it, it's actually set to allow all VLANs right now. I will go to the top right and click on edit. And when we look at the VLANs right above me here, I'll hide my picture-in-picture. We could allow all VLANs and only say specific VLANs that we want allowed. And let's say that's the FacultyNet and student Wi-Fi. I would then click save. And now we've got our switch port configured to only allow those VLANs. And so everything is good to go there. If you also wanted to configure DHCP, you could do that manually. Head over to student Wi-Fi VLAN as an example. We'll click on edit on the top right, and then you could set up, enable DHCP server. Once I enable that, I have all these different options. We could set the search domain. I'll just say packet 6 again. That's our campus, and set up the upstream DNS servers. A lot of different other settings that we could allow, and I'll just hit save for now to set that up. And then we'll get a client connected. Then we can start looking at our next task of using Meter Command to set up management of your clients, look at troubleshooting as well. All right, let's look at some troubleshooting real quick, because we could use Meter Command to troubleshoot as well. So if we say we want to look at a specific client, I can show you that I do have a client on this network right now. One client connected right here on the wired side, let's see, clients and iPhone. And so it's connected to this VLAN. I just literally connected it. And let's say we want to use command to troubleshoot this client. We'll open up the prompt here, and let's say we want to troubleshoot client iPhone. And so I could do a search and filter for that, and hit enter. You can also put in an IP address, but there's the client health at the time. So it's been connected for 15 milliseconds, and we have to have enough time for the dashboard to get information on this client. Okay, now that you've got your campus network up and running, you probably want to know what's happening on the network, right? We could look at some network insights, but let's say you want to execute a couple of commands to show a graph, or you want to build a custom dashboard. And we could do that with meter command. And so in here, what I'll say is to generate a graph showing WAN bandwidth in the last 3 minutes. So I just want to see what's happening with my WAN. What does that bandwidth look like? Why are things slow, right? And so here you can see a graph was generated for this site on this WAN, and this was the last 3 minutes. And that's my receive and transmit. And so now we could actually take this graph and start building out a dashboard if you wanted to. You could put that right here. And so on the right side, on the right pane, I'm building out a dashboard. I don't know if you can see the little dots here. It's like a dotted note paper. And we could take this graph and extend it if you wanted to. Then we can go and create a different graph. Like let's say, who are my top 10 users or clients on the network? So I can say, who are my top 10 bandwidth clients in the last 3 minutes? And let's see if it'll generate a graph for us that we could also add into the dashboard. So here we go. These are the top 10 clients. One I just added to the dashboard, so it's not really doing much. So we can resize a lot of these cards here in order to make a dashboard that makes sense for us. I will probably want to make this the same width so we can kind of correlate some of this information. I don't know what this is. I was playing around with it, so I added a bunch of things, but there's our WAN throughput in the last 3 minutes. These are the top 10 bandwidth hungry clients. And let's say we also want to look at the utilization of an access point. We have one access point. What does utilization look like? So show me a utilization chart for AP01. It's the only AP I have on this network at the moment. And so this will be another graph that I want to display. So I can go ahead and add that here as well. So now we got a nice little dashboard going. I can modify these and say, hey, show me this information in the last hour, because I want to see what's happening recently. We can even change these intervals, and we can create a lot more dashboards if we want to try to show something to somebody. Maybe you have a stakeholder or your manager wants to see some graphs, and instead of having to learn code and build a whole different platform to try to ingest all this data and put into a whole new graph, learn a whole new system, we can just use meter command to actually build that for us. And it's very useful. I think I was able to create some basic graphs and charts pretty easily. And then this is a default chart right here. I can create another chart if I wanted to, a different notebook. And so I can call this, executive notebook. And so now I can create a whole new notebook and a whole new layout of context. So let's say display, if I can type, Display average RSSI metrics for all clients. Let's see if it'll work for us there. I haven't tried that statement before. Okay, maybe I should tell it to add it to a graph. Graph average RSSI metrics for all clients. Okay, there we go. I do have to type it out properly. We can say, this isn't give us a value in the last hour. We can drop that in there. So there's a graph for our executive team. Then we can add another one and say graph SNR metrics for all access points in the last 5 minutes. And so there's our average SNR at this site. It's got the values of these devices. We can click on this plus sign to add that graph in there. So now they are side by side. So now I can change between different notebooks and have different graphs, different displays, depending on what I'm trying to look for. And then we can share this out if we need to the right people. All right, what about for troubleshooting? What if we wanted to troubleshoot a device? So I can create another notebook called troubleshooting, and maybe this is more of a dynamic notebook, and I'll use this for any kind of client I'm trying to troubleshoot. And there could be specific things that I want to troubleshoot across the network. So I want to say generate a graph for WAN utilization in the last 5 minutes. So I'm going to make sure my WAN is okay whenever someone complains about slowness on the network. So I'll add that graph in there. I can say generate a graph of all access points uptime. Make sure that there's no access points down. Oh, this is the uptime chart for the WAN. So not for the right thing, but I'll add that. We do want to know if we could reach certain sites, and maybe I can list out sites. But then maybe I want to troubleshoot slowness for Wi-Fi. Someone says the Wi-Fi is slow, so I can type in troubleshoot slowness. Can't type for this client, and I want to maybe pick this iPhone. And so now as we start looking into things, I can say, all right, this device is pretty important. I will track that over the last 24 hours, last hour, and it's giving us a lot of good details about its SNR, its usage, data rate for both upload and download, and then also giving us its connection time and its connection success rate. So it doesn't look like there's any errors with Wi-Fi at all. And so that gives you an idea of building out even a dashboard for you to figure out what you can look at on your network, make sure there's different parts of your network that's all fine, and making sure that there's no outages anywhere. You're tracking different websites or different URLs in order to determine your uptime graph. And usually this uptime chart, you would utilize a separate service in order to just track uptime of different things. And here we're able to track that pretty easily. So Meter Command is actually a very useful tool for someone who's building out a network and also operating a network. I'm still getting used to a lot of the different commands I might be able to use and build things out. I think the language still needs better tuning around how I want to configure things. I think there is a specific context that you have to use in order for it to be pretty accurate. But I like that it shows the forms, because the forms itself allows us to determine if I'm configuring everything that should be configured for that network or for that piece of equipment. Maybe I'm missing something, and so the form actually helps you drill it down a little bit more in more detail, and also to meet any of the requirements for configuring that network. So overall, I think the interface of Meter and Meter Command is pretty nice. It's pretty quick and allowed me to do a lot of different tasks without having to go and click in different places on the dashboard. And I was able to connect my clients, no problem. I'm on the network, And so over time, I should have a better utilization graph of everything on Meter Command. So that's Meter Command, a platform that looks way ahead of the competition, something that's built for real intent-based networking. If you want to see more use cases like this one, you should head over to meter.com and explore how this platform scales and helps IT professionals like yourself. And I'm curious, do you see Meter Command helping in your day-to-day? Let me know in the comments down below. Very interested to hear what you have to say and what you think, and if this is something useful for you.